Hello fellow map makers, welcome to tonight's live map making session. Hope you're all good and doing well in the oncoming winter here in the northern hemisphere at least. I had my first cold last week, that's why we didn't have a live map making session then. I'm pretty much recovered. You may still hear it a little bit in my voice, but I hope and think we'll be doing fine tonight. If the sound is weird or off, let me know, and I'll see whether I can make any adjustments here, apart from the little gravel in my voice, which I'll not be able to change. But the settings seem to be fine, so I think we're set to dive into another mapping session today. Alright, so we'll be coming back to a map I've been working on before on my big Wilderland Mirkwood map that you've probably all seen by now. I posted it on the website and this is how it looks overall at the moment. And yes, you can see there's still spots missing and areas to fill out. And I thought I'd take the opportunity tonight to work a little bit on it. Nothing really spectacular new or anything. I'll be doing some overland map making work with the Mike Schley overland style. Focusing a bit more on mountains this time, since we focused a lot on forest before in this map. And I've done a session specifically on plains and larger areas where not that many symbols go, so I thought it might be a good opportunity to do a little bit of mountain mapping. As always, if you've got any questions during the session, do post them in the chat. We do have lots of knowledgeable people around who will be able to help, and if possible I can also show stuff on screen, so don't hesitate to ask if any questions come up during the session. And if you're watching this not live, but later, please do come to our Facebook community or the forum on our website and ask your questions there. People are still around there and still happy to help. Yes, bing bong bing, the bells are still going on in the background. Windows securely closed though, it's quite cold outside, and so we'll have to wait until next spring until we can hear the bells more clearly again. So where do I want to map today on this drawing? Yes, you can see here already I've done a little prep work in the upper left corner where this nice corner is missing. I thought I'd fill that out, and I've copied stuff from my rough overland map into here to give me an idea where everything goes. And I'll be deleting the stuff in here later on. For now it just serves as a guideline for where I want to place stuff. And let's start out by getting a little bit of the forest out of the way. I've got the northwestern edge of corner of Mirkwood in here, and I just want to put that in as a background and so on, get rid of the black areas and the symbols here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the mountains, the terrain drawing tools, and I'm going to adjust the forest background. And I'll use this to outline the forest area here. Turn off snap. And now I'm going to just outline the same area that the stuff from the other map shows. I'm just going to the edge here where it meets my previous drawing, and then I'm just going to finish it down here, and so I have the background in my style here and can securely delete the rest. And how to delete all this stuff, pick it out. You've got all the tree symbols here on the edge, and these are simple to remove by just going to the symbol manager, go to all the tree symbols here, select them, delete them, and there they are gone. And then I'm going to grab the black polygon here. Oh, I accidentally picked the move command instead. So what I'm going to finish the command and then just going to go erase, right click and select my prior. Prior always selects the entities I've used on with the last command, and then press D for do it, and I've got them erased. As you can see, I already have a little bit of a background here from the other maps of the forest. This will overlap and darken all that, but I'm not too worried about that for now. This is just going to be something I'll be fixing later on when the whole forest is done, and then I'm just going to do one big shadow background for the forest, and that should be enough. Okay, so we've got a question from Graham whether we can have some of the snowtop mountains. Absolutely. Fitting to the weather. I'm even probably going to do a bit of an Arctic area up north, so very fitting for the current weather. So I don't want to fill out the forest here at the moment. I'll leave that for later. Actually, what I want to do, I want to go into the mountains. I'm thinking whether I should deal with the rivers first, but no, I think I'm just going to go for the mountains here. And if I take a closer look, you can see on the adjacent map here, I've already added mountains. That's a section of the map I did not do on the live stream, on the withered heath here. And you're already seeing, got the snow-covered mountains here for the Grey Mountains, which is the big mountain range north of Mirkwood. And I'm going to continue with that. I've already put some symbols where some of the mountains here are in the previous map. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete these ones. I can see this better. There we go. Also these pieces. Actually, does it picked one of the new symbols there, which I do not want to delete. So there we go again. So I'm just going to press Control for unselecting something. Press D for do it. And there we are. So, and you can see the withered heath is a big valley or flatter area between the northern and southern fork of the Grey Mountains, but this is vanishing here and it's all going into one big mountain range. So we're going to be building one big range of mountains, and zoom in here. And what I usually do first is I grab some big mountain peaks, some larger symbols, and place these down as the anchor points for my mountain ranges. So let's load up the mountains here, and we do have some special mountains. We do have volcanoes, which the Grey Mountains are not a volcanic mountain range, so we're going to skip these. And we've got the large mountains here, several of them, and 3 of them actually. And then the largest ones are the big peaks, of which we only have 2. So I don't want to use these too often because they will be very obvious, and since I've only got a variation of 2, then it will be noticeable that they are the same ones again. But I think what I've also got, which I wanted to perhaps use, or take a look at glaciers. Do I have any in here? Mountain with glacier there, because it's a very icy range with lots of glaciers and stuff, and we might be using some of that to show this in the mountains. And we also have some snow-covered hills, which will be great to use, especially on the northern edge of the mountains, on the northern flank. So let's grab the great peaks here, or the first one of these, and just place one down. This seems to be a center of the range here with a peak, with a group of peaks, and there's one here, which is a nice. This triple peak mountain is a nice fit. I'm gonna grab that. So I've got my 2 peaks here. I don't need to use any further ones. I think I can now go to the large mountains, and I'll see. I'm gonna use the tab key to cycle through these mountains to pick the ones I want. Oh, you've got a nice one here. And this mountain here, a big one. And let's see where I want to place this peak here. One here, and I think a second one will be fine here. Place one mountain here, and a third one here. Go, and then we're gonna go into the normal mountains, thus just snow-capped, and we're gonna fill up the range with these here. We go. As you can see, I'm not sticking slavishly to the different peak mountain symbols we have in the original map. That's because they don't really depict any special or specific mountains really. So we are free to redo that arrangement in this style of map. And if I getting too small ones, which I don't want, I'm just using my tab key to cycle through the next symbols until I find one that I like for this. And as you can see, I'm also not bothered about the correct overlap. We're going to sort these symbols in a moment, and then we'll have these all in the correct order again anyway. Here we go, and then we've got a little bit of a spur of mountains going down south here. Here we go. Want a nice, let's say at the headwaters here of the river, I certainly want some nice, quite significant peak. So I'm looking through the mountains to find something that I like. This is pretty large and impressive, so I'm going to take that. Symbol down here, and one here. And this means we've pretty much covered the area there we've imported from the other map. So I'm gonna go and do sort symbols of the map, and I'm just not gonna do all this time because this will sort symbols all over the map, and that might just take a little longer than I want. And so I'm just gonna do a window select and sort through this. You don't have to bother about whether you have anything selected that's not a symbol, because Compactor will just ignore that in this command. Alright, so now we're a bit mixed up with all the older symbols. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove those and then take a look whether my mountain range looks okay. And for this I want to keep the symbols, the hill symbols around, just so for reference when I'm going to place the symbols. So I'm just going to select these individual mountains here by holding down Control and then clicking on the symbols in the list. There we go. Now I'm going to do a delete. And there's a few left. And now we think we only have hill symbols left. There, very nice. So let's have a look how our mountain range here looks so far. Quite nice. We have a bit of a valley here in between and a valley here, which is nice. We're going to be filling this up with background and stuff so it doesn't look empty later. You don't have to cover everything with peaks, with mountain symbols. It's always nice to have a little bit of the background peeking out behind. And so I'm quite happy with how this looks. And you can also have a check whether you've got any obvious overlap problems where the symbols don't overlap correctly, but if you're just using the mountain symbols, that's unlikely to happen. So this is all looking good as far as I can see. Then I'm gonna take a look my mountain symbols, and I do also still have some smaller mountain symbols. The mountain small, snow-capped, and I wanna continue placing some of these, and actually going to use these for some of the hill symbols in here. So, of course, I don't want to go into the actual hills yet. And some more peaks with snow caps will look nice. Give this a more frigid look. Might even put one symbol in here. And you can also use these to offset or integrate the bigger mountain symbols a little bit better into the geography. So it's not more of a slow rise of mountains instead of the big mountains jutting up from the plains. I want to leave the rest here for hill symbols. And I might actually just put down a few behind there. Yes, I'm going to put in a few smaller peaks up in the north. And then I'm going to do another sort symbols and map. If you click on an empty space with your mouse when selecting, it will automatically start a window select. So the other way to do is to right click and select the window option. If you're, for example, if you're looking to select by window, but you have lots of entities around and can't find a convenient spot to start a window selection. Go. I've got a suggestion from Graham to do a frozen mountain lake. Yes, we can certainly do something like that. We'll see how this goes. When we're going a bit into the northern edge of the mountains, we can do something like that. So that's nice, but I first want to continue and add some hill symbols so that I can then get rid of all the old symbols in here. So let's go down here and have a look for some of the foothills and hills here. So could use the foothills symbols, but they can be a bit because of the many of them are small ones. I do prefer the normal hill symbols quite often because they are not quite as large and have a bit more control over them. So I'm going to use these down here. And there's the cat. I say hi, Asa. Show your tail. Go. No wonder she comes and I start talking. Check on me with who I am talking. And we also have individual symbols for a little bit larger hills, which you can place down here, and which I sometimes like to use is the symbol, the hill symbol with the cave entrance for some special areas. And go, and I do want to place some symbols in the back here. Some space for lakes for later. We go, and then again I'm going to do this sort symbols map because the hills are so much lower theoretically than the mountains. Can sometimes a bit tricky to overlap them correctly. So let's have a look. But first, let's delete all the old symbols. I've replaced them all now. Oops, that's too far. Delete all of them. Let's have a quick look. Areas here where hills and mountains interlock, and this is not quite, for example, I don't quite like how this symbol here looks in comparison to the mountain, which is it's overlapping, so I'll just move it down a bit to here. It's nicer. Otherwise, here the overlap is quite okay. And if we take a look here, similar problem with this mountain overlap here. Only problem is that I don't really have space to move the symbols further down. Otherwise, I'm going to get into conflict with the rivers. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to move up the mountains a bit. There we are. And that's nice. Okay, this was zoomed out too far. But as you can see, even on my fairly big screen, although I'm not only using a portion of it here for the video, despite the many symbols and nothing is hidden really, zooming is still quite comfortably and fast, and no problem working on this big map, even with all the other stuff off screen I'm not currently working on. So now what I want the background, the more normal green grass background here, and this is, I'm just going to use the extract properties command, select on an existing background here, land ms, you see the properties up here to check them, this looks fine, and then I'm just going to use the box, use F5 as an endpoint modifier, clicking on the edge of my screen here, that's going to put the point in the corner, or the next available point, and that's up there in the corner. And then I'm just gonna go up here and fine with it overlapping, because it's all on the same sheet and mostly covered up by symbols anyway. And there we are, and there's my green background. But as you can see, that doesn't look so nice compared to the rest of the to the mountains here, and up here on the right you can see that I've already used different backgrounds there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at my default terrain by right-clicking the terrain button and see what I have here as backgrounds. So I can use the hill fill, which I've done here in the withered heath. I might actually extend that just a little bit here, because that valley is still going further in here. Go, and that just gives me more fill with symbols, with trees just in the background, which normally fits in nicely with the mountains and everything. And for the rest of the mountain range, I want to use the hills background, or I could use the mountains background. Yes, I'm actually gonna grab the mountains background and just gonna outline the mountain area with that. Going here. On the border a little bit, and there we go. Then you can see I've also used a little bit more yellowish background here at that point. So I'm going to continue that. Is that the hills background, or is that the grassland background? I'm actually not quite sure. So what to do, my favorite toy is the extract properties. Click on that, and you can see up here it's the hills background. So I'm just going to do that. Select the hills and attaching this to roughly where I left off. I'm going to use this to outline the area here, a little bit inside the valley for the green background. There we go, overlapping here. And as you can see, this is actually on the same sheet as the mountains background, so I might want to change the order a little bit there, but because my mountain background is also overlapping the hills here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that back first. So you see the mountain background is showing up here now again, because now it's in front of the mountain background. And then I'm going to do the same with the hills background here. And then where they overlap, I do get to see the hills background. Not, perhaps I do want it the other way around. I can see some of the separation of these where they overlap, because they're on the same sheet. I don't get the sheet effect, the edge fade on where they meet. So I could either separate them on different sheets, or for now I think I'm fine with just moving the mountain background back and using only the hill background, or seeing only the hill background on here. And where the border between the two is mostly covered up by the actual symbols. Yep, this seems to be looking mostly fine. But I wanted to use some icy stuff. As I said, I wanted to use a little bit of glacier type symbols. So I do have a mountain with glacier here, which I want to use. And I'm gonna if I want to make this a little bit more prominent, I can make it a bit larger. See, we've got a 2.5 size here, so let's try 0.4. See, it's already quite a lot larger. Don't want to make it too large, because then the lines of the symbols will become much more apparent, and it will stick out too much from the other symbols. So I might actually go down a bit, 2.35. And I'm going to place this down here, and then we'll be able to see it. Even if we sort the symbols, you can see we can see the glacier nicely in here. I want to place another one up here, or perhaps just a little here, setting it back to normal. So let's go put one in here and one in here. Sort the symbols. That's good. All right, next up we are talking a bit about lakes, and the northern edge here is a great place to put in some lakes for the mountains, even some frozen ones if possible. So let's have a look in the we have coastline stuff here. We don't have the lake tools linked from the catalog, so I'm going to right click this, and I do have the lake up here, so I can grab that and, for example, draw a bit of a lake up here behind the symbols, and they will show quite nicely as a lake, though I'm not quite sure about the fill style, though it is the same as I've used for the river. Now let's actually zoom a little bit closer, otherwise I'm hitting the marsh background on the river if I use extract properties. Oh. And why is fill style now solid? Whether I've clearly clicked on the river, that's because this is the copy of this. The black river here is extending. You can see a little bit down here, and actually behind my blue river, and that's why this is showing up as black. So what I really got to do is I'm going to fix my rivers first. So let's do that. So I'm gonna actually trim my rivers here. So let's do trim to entity, and I'm gonna grab the background here. I'm trimming to, click on my river, and as you can see here, the black line gets trimmed all the way to the edge. I've got a little of overlap with my existing river, so that's fine. Same with this river here. And there we go. And now I should be able to use extract properties on my river here. Yeah, looking good. And I can change my river fill style on these rivers here to the same. Missing a little bit here, up here. Instead of this river piece, do it. And I can, if I don't have the fill style previously selected, I can always use the F2 key for like this river, and then it would change the fill style to the style of the selected entity. And as you can see, we do have the same fill style here for the lake and the rivers, which is fine. But I'm thinking about frozen lakes. So let's have a look what we do have in the way of frozen bitmaps. I'm not sure the style does have something. We do have the swamp style. We do have the snowy land style. Do we have ice in here actually? Yes, we do have ice bitmap. Two different ones actually. That's the old one, I think, from the base Quebec River style, and this is the Mike Schley style. So let's see how it looks if we change the fill style of the lake to the icy fill. So I'm going to click Change Properties, click my lake, press D for Do It, and I don't want to change anything else because I really want to keep it on the water, on the river layer, and I'm just going to go for the icy here. Go. Doesn't look too bad. So it's not too bad. So we've got some frozen lakes here. We do have some normal lakes up here. The question asks itself whether, why is this lake frozen? Well, we can say there's perhaps some unnatural influence there or something. So that might be the case. And I'm going to leave that now. Or we can also interpret it as a big glacier, as a snowfield, and then have rivers running off of that. All right, but I do want to do more stuff here, so I do want to put in another set of fills down here and slowly changing from the mountains via hills to the tundra, as I've done here on the other section of the map. And for that we've got to start with the hills, but as I'm coming from the mountain fills here, I perhaps now want to keep these on different sheets so I can actually overlap these nicely. So let's have a look where my mountains are located on. They're on land features, and I do have a land feature 0, which has basically the same sheet effect as the other one, so they're just separated, so the edge fade gets applied to entities on the sheets separately. So I'm going to select this, and now I'm going to grab the hills fill style, and because I'm on a layer that starts with the land features, it will actually place that on this sheet. There we go, and I can now overlap this. Draw my terrain, and you should now see, yes, the mountains fill is still visible, and it slowly fades into the hill fill below. So what I can do now, I could separate my, if I want to continue with the tundra, I could separate this by leaving a strip of green between them, or if I want to overlap that, I can go back to actually my land feature sheet, so the tundra will be on top of the hills, and the edge fade doesn't really care much what is on top. And so I'm gonna have a look, and there's my tundra, and I'm gonna slightly overlap this with my hills. Not the same everywhere. Right click to finish, and there's, you can see the edge fade between the hills and the tundra. It doesn't look so nice right here from the start. I do need some kind of symbols here to make this nicely, and this is where my snowy hills come in. So I'm gonna go for my mountains catalog again. And now I'm just going to place down some snowy hills like this, and I can still intermingle it with normal hills a bit. Gives a nice bit of variation there, I think. Very good. And sort symbols and map. No, I didn't hit an empty area there. That's why my window selection didn't start. And now it's time to move a little bit of the gonna draw some rivers flowing up here. So I'm gonna have a look here. My rivers are actually probably different from the ones I'm using in the map, but no matter, we can always change that later. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place this on the edge of the lake with the F9 key, and then I'm just gonna follow some gaps in the hills and have the river run up north beyond the map. As you can see, it's much narrower than my rivers that are on the that I've drawn on the map before. We're gonna just change that in a bit. Just imagining the rivers running off from the mountains here into the far north. Mostly frozen through the year probably, but in the summer month rushing with them out slow. And now I'm going to use extract properties on my river here. Yeah, right. And then I'm going to change properties, or change line width. Really is the only thing I need to change. Select my rivers. Press D for do it. And 0.75 is the current one. There we go. And I can see my overlap with the symbols is not everywhere that nice. Well, actually my river color is, yeah, that's the difference. The default tool doesn't use the same, exactly the same bitmap. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to do change properties, prior, do it, and I'm gonna go for the water dog bitmap here, and there we are. Now we do have the same. But what I was gonna say, my symbols partially overlap this, so I can either, two options, I can obviously move the symbols, but I can also use the node edit and move my rivers around a bit until I've got them in positions where they don't overlap the symbols that much. It's going to be a bit more difficult here because I've not really got this space. So here I'm going to move the symbol instead a little bit to the left. There we are. And then, because I don't quite like this overlap here, now I see what happened here. I've accidentally hit the background of the terrain texture instead of the river. So I can just retry and choose the river at a slightly different location. There we are. And that looks nice. The only thing I don't quite like is that I'm actually gone into more in the interior of the icy lake here. So what I'm here just going to do, I'm just going to front the icy lake. So because it's on the same sheet, both on the river sheet, it will now cover that end of the river. Alright, so very nice. What I also like to do often is to create a little bit more of headwaters of the rivers by doing some forks here. Not quite as wide. Oops. Careful here. There again, I've hit a bit of a wrong location, so I'm going to move that. The other thing I can do, which is probably better to show, is I'm working on the water river sheet, and I don't want to pick up other stuff, so I'm just going to freeze everything but water rivers. And now I should be able to just, no matter what is behind the river here, just pick up that node and move it around. Same here. Thing is, I'm used to drawing tools, and they continue a little bit differently than normal drawing commands like these ones here, and that's why I tend to get into a little bit of a wrong repeating pattern of commands and getting that error message, but it's just a small thing. Okay, now I'm gonna drop in a few lakes here. Lake. In this frozen tundra area, I'm always imagining a little bit of areas like northern Scandinavia, northern Finland or Sweden, where the landscape is very much dotted with lakes and intermingled with forests and rivers. And that's why I'm going to use this mixture of rivers and lakes and forests, which will come in a bit to show this area. Looking good. So next up, I'm going to load up the vegetation catalog for the first time, and I'm going to grab the pine trees, the groups of pine trees that make it a bit easier here, and just scatter around some of them around my lakes and the tundra to break up the texture. Otherwise, it does look a little bit too repeating. Here we go. And that's not bad at all. A few individual pine trees. So why do I place a few individual pine trees like this? This is mostly to hide the shape of the group symbols I've placed earlier. So the pine woods, there's a few of them, but they are not unlimited numbers, and I've placed quite a few around the map. It might be apparent that they are all the same, or that their symbols are repeating. But if I just scatter a few individual trees around the edges, that hides these groups a little bit better, and it's harder to spot that the repeating symbols are there. Also, a few individual trees around the area always look nice. Well, this is actually a very nice spot for another lake, so we might put in another frozen lake there, I think. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a drawing tool for the frozen lake, so I don't need to change stuff later. So what I'm going to do is go into the drawing tools for the rivers, click advanced, and just create a new one and make lake frozen. Oh, I've misspelled that. So what I'm going to do, unfortunately I can't rename a tool from here, so I'm just going to create a new one, correct the name, and then delete the original one. There we go. And then here I'm gonna switch it to my ice texture, which is further up. There we go. Save the tool, and now I can just draw this in here. And they've got the ice field or frozen lake texture right there from the start. Ready to be used again in future maps. Alright, well, the northern area is looking pretty much as I wanted for now. And now I'm gonna take a look at the lower edges here. I still have one symbol left over from the old map, or the smaller scale map, and this is a ruin of an old dwarf hold. Remember, I know that. So what I want to do is now I'm trying what's happening. I can't select anything, obviously, because earlier on I froze all my other layers. So I'm going to throw them again. And now I can select and erase my ruin again. And I remember that Mike Schley did a lot of symbols for dwarven structures a while ago, which we published in the free symbol selections. And let's have a look. Oh, I'm sorry, I have a bit of a... No, I'm good. Yeah, looks good. Okay, let's continue. Um, Dwarven ruins here. And I see these are fairly small here. Can't see much. It's a good opportunity to show you a bit of if I want to increase the size of my symbols here. I can do that by clicking the options button and here putting in or doubling the values, and then we'll see we've got quite large symbol window. A bit too large in the long run, but now I can actually very nicely see stuff here. So ruined dwarven town and a ruined dwarven city. So I think the city is a bit too large here, so we're gonna make do with our ruined town, dwarven town, and I'm gonna actually put that in here. Do I have other ruins, like a ruined tower or so for the dwarves? I've got dwarven mine. We might put that in the background and then grab the ruined dwarven town and put that in front. There we go. And now we're gonna sort the symbols. And there we are. Actually, we do need to resort all of them, otherwise they don't fit quite correctly in. But that looks good. So I've got my ruin symbol replaced, and now I think it's time to have we do have a bit more mountain range up here on the left. I think we do need to fill out in a bit of stuff here. So first off, I'm gonna go back to my smaller symbol size, so I can actually use more of my drawing area. I'm gonna go to my mountains. I'm gonna some snow-capped ones and just like this. Smaller ones down here. And then we do need some hills. We could use the foothills here perhaps. No, I'm gonna still go with the normal hills. Go symbols, sort symbols and up. For once I'm gonna sort everything again. You'll see that doesn't take much longer either. See, it's just a little bit. There we go. Now everything is sorted. And that looks pretty good. Just need a little bit of the hill background. Can select that here from the symbol catalog as well. There we go. Oh, not quite happy. I didn't go into the corner correctly there, so let's redo that properly. That's my hill background. There we are. I do need to overlap the edge of the map here somewhat. There we are. And while we're at it, let's grab the vegetation catalog and add some pine trees here. So you can see up here we do have a separate symbols tree sheet. That makes it possible to that I don't have to bother about the ordering of symbols where hills and trees meet, or mountains, because the trees are really too small to fit into the ordering of everything else. But they do almost always look good when they're on top of other stuff. So having the symbols trees sheet on top of the other symbols makes placing these a lot easier and simpler. And if necessary, I can always put them on other sheets or create new sheets to put them below other stuff. But for now, I'm happy with the mountain ranges. So, and I do have a few more minutes left, so I'm going to take a bit of a look at the forest stuff. Oh, I think I accidentally delete a little bit of forest down here. Well, we're gonna fix it in a moment. For now, I do want to see, I do have some hill range here in the forest, and I want to preserve that. So I'm gonna continue that. So I'm gonna go in this first. I'm gonna place my hills again and continue the mountain, the range of hills here a little bit. Go. And I also want to place a few hills up here. Yeah, I can actually use this opportunity to put a few hills in here. Alright, and now I'm gonna start by adding the Mirkwood proper. So up here in the north I do want mostly pine trees, so I'm just gonna go for my pine forest tool, and I'm not gonna cover just everything with trees. That's gonna be boring quickly, so I'm gonna do a few areas, some variations here, but the main stuff can be done by just placing down larger sections of trees. I strongly recommend to not do everything in one go. You'll have more opportunities for some variation and difference in forest type and so on if you go. Here we go. Well, we've got another suggestion from Graham, poison swamp area. Certainly a possibility, but I'm going a bit by the lore background, and up here I'm in mostly the Elven area, Woodland Realm, and the Northern Forest is not, Mirkwood is not as touched as strongly by the shadow, so I don't think it's a very appropriate area for poison swamps. Certainly some swampy areas along the river, that's certainly an option, but I'm not gonna make it too evil at this point here. Still gonna be foreboding and dangerous, but not poisonous. Here we go. Bit of forest edge here, and then I'm gonna switch to the mixed forest area. Where's my feet? There's my mixed forest tool. And use this for some stretches. There we go, it's not too bad. So you can see that mixes quite nicely with the edge here without any big problems. But what I want to do is I want to, as I said, a bit of a swampy area around the forest. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to not grab the swamp texture, but the marsh texture. And I'm going to use this to outline some stretches of the river. Fine to extend it a little bit into the forest at some point. Go. Looks quite good. And then I'm gonna go first off down here. Use the deciduous area forest tool, and I don't want to just swap into the mixed forest all just precisely at this line, so that will look unnatural. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a few bumps and corners into this. This is actually, there we go. And then I'm going to go back to the mixed forest tool to fill in a bit more of the area. Going around the hills here, as you see, if I draw with the forest tool across the hills, it will just cover them up completely and they will not be visible anymore at all. and then the symbols are just going to be wasted. So instead I'm gonna scatter some individual trees across that. For now, first off, I'm gonna sort symbols and map. All of these here. There we are. We'll see now along the edges they get sorted into each other and mostly overlap quite nicely. And now I can go in and start filling the area in some where the forest is not quite as dense, with just some individual tree symbols like this. It's just a bit of click work. This is said so many times, don't bother about the sorting of stuff. This can always, the command does the heavy lifting for that, for you with that. Actually, here probably could use a little bit more with the drawing tool, with the forest tool, so I don't have to place that many symbols. But it's as good as the forest drawing tool is, it will, if you do it across too large an area, you will see the patterns that show up, because it's just a repeating pattern of symbols, and it will be noticeable. And it's always nicer if you break that up and place some of the symbols individually. That will just give generally a more natural feeling to the whole forest. There we go, the edge here, bit of an edge here. Scattering just some single trees here, but I'm gonna go in a moment and to fill out the rest more with deciduous trees. It's just easier to do these first and not always go back and forth. And we'll later have to put some trees on the hills as well, naturally, because it's a workforce forest and there's no such thing as just bare hills anywhere in the forest, especially not more than one. So we're gonna, but I'll keep that for later. For now I'm focusing on the areas that are still left undone between my forest patches. And I just put in some of the deciduous trees among the pine trees. I do get this nice mixed forest look. And I'm probably, when I will be working on some individual areas, filling in some special stuff in there, I always can go in and add more tree symbols where they are necessary to make the whole thing look like one big dense forest. There you can see, getting there. Most of the stuff is covered. Some space here, a few along these edges here that I've previously deleted. And there we are. And with that, before I start on the hills, I think we've done with the hour, and we've created quite a nice little piece of the map. And I'm almost done with the northwestern edge of Mirkwood. And we do need to fill out a little bit the river valley here and the edge of the forest, or the area of the forest between the mountains and the trees, because there's a road as well, path is going along there. But we've got the major part of the work done here. Hope you enjoyed watching me doing that for a little bit. As I said, nothing really special or new or complicated this time, just some general map making, and you see how all the map here comes together. And As you see, it's not that complicated. It just takes a little bit of time and patience to put it all together. All right, thank you very much for joining me tonight, and hope you create and share more maps yourself. And have a good night. See you next week. Bye bye.